Hello, my friends. This is Rick, and this is your seat at the table. We are looking at Mirkwood, the Wilds of Rhovanion. This is, by my belief, is the second edition version, where they take the original northern Mirkwood and southern Mirkwood and consolidated them into a single book. Uh, to my best of my knowledge, there is no additional source material that's within this book. Although, like I said, it made a nice addition by having everything in one spot. It came with a couple of big pictures and a couple of full color maps of Dol Guldur, Woodman Town. Used them occasionally for backstop settings for my table. So we take a look at those things. Just a quick revision. I don't remember exactly what I paid for it. Doesn't show a price tag on it. First edition printing was 1988, and this is when I would have got this thing a couple years after I graduated high school. So we got our guidelines, definitions, abbreviations, adapting the campaign module to your campaign or your particular, converting it to your particular flavor of game system. So, like I said, that's one of the things I've always liked about Iron Crown Enterprises MERP installments is the fact that they took the understanding that not everybody likes new sets of rules, or sometimes rules don't always give what they're used to having. So, being able to convert it to your standard, whether you're using D&D or Rollmaster or basic fantasy or whatever, it's all pretty straightforward and easy to do. Okay, so we got our introduction, the buried land, the Rhovanion history. It says, where necessary, the material in this work is set in Third Age 1640. However, we have taken care to delete time-specific references whenever possible. So they actually got the game-related timeline is the year 1640, which is about 1,000 years before the Lord of the Rings, and in certain areas like Arthedain and places within the greater scheme of things are still viable and functioning and not ruins by the time the Roar of the Ring comes to a head. So we get the Third Age, First Millennium, Coming of Shadow, Rise of the Northmen, Wayne Riders, the Great Plague, Dwarven Migrations, Coming of Smog, There and Back Again, the Ring Trilogy, the Spreading Shadow, Into the Fourth Age, the Tale of the Entwise, A Tale of Years. So we get a pretty in-depth backstory for the world our players are interacting with. The land, Northern Rhovanion, Mirkwood, Dol Guldur. Like I said, I like these edition maps that they add, because what they do is they give us, this particular one gives us site locations, but other versions will give us a general idea of what fauna and flora is prevalent to an area or region, and potentially flow. In this case, we got a pretty good marking for all the roads and path or trails, if you will. I use the term roads loosely because most of these would be uh, moderately traveled. Dol Guldur, the Anduin Valley, the plains. We got a breakdown of our climate, gives you an idea how the wind flows and the storms would move along and things like this if you're interested in incorporating that into your campaigns. The ecology, plants, flora of the forest, flora of the plains, the Anduin Valley flora. Here we got one for a chart for herb effects. It says here, for example, furry oak acorns, harvest immediately. 10 acorns, raw or cooked, equal 1 meal. It says here, curly bark hickory nuts, small but nutritious, 50 nuts equal a meal. It says Lynchon gloriosa, tasty but not nutritious, of greater value in weapon and tool maintenance. Carefree mustard, leaves are edible before flowering up and through midsummer. So, medicinal plants, useful plants. Let's see. Touchgrass, an edible reed but shape represents race passing by plant within the last hour. Luncheon Gloricia, upon gathering to sharpen metal blades, glows sufficiently for 1 ounce to illuminate a 30 cubic foot area, may not be stored for future use. Bogland grass, waterproof material used for ropes, mats, and baskets. So we got animals, the flora, or the fauna in the Mirkwood, fauna in the plains, fauna in the north, creatures of note, the great eagles, birds of Rogosbull, animals in the majestic bear, the shape changers, dark creatures, dragons and their nature, varieties, defenses, fell beasts, spiders, giant races, trolls, giants, active trees, i.e. Hurons, other evil creatures, giant bats, wights, wargs, werewolves, avenues of travel, the roads, the main roads, major southern routes. Here's that map where we got, again, another colorful, or another black and white map. This one locates known settlements for men in and around Mirkwood and the plains to the east. So this would have been where once upon a time a lot more human settlements existed during the 1640 second or third age. Roads in Mirkwood, the Necromancer's Orc Road, waterways, various rivers that are used for transportation, of course. Features peoples and cultures, the wood elves, the dwarves, the Northmen. The orcs, Northmen of southern wilderland, urban Northmen, the Baronings, or the J.R.R. I cannot pronounce that. Sorry about that. But, you know. The Woodmen, settlers from Gondor. What's this here? Lesser Dunedain, a varied mix of folk who are in part Northmen, derive some blood from the indigenous common men of the Second Age, Gondor, and are directly related to the original Dunedain settlers who arrived from Nuremberg after the Third Age 1800. Woodmen. And Easterlings, the Dunedain, the Ashdrags, the Sagoth. And like the Ashdrags, Sagoth are also nomadic Easterlings, but unlike the other invaders, Sagoth migrated westward from the eastern shores of the Sea of Ruin. These people are related to the race of wood elves called the Talanoth, the plain hosts, a huge tribal nation whose culture is based upon the horse. The race that the wood elves call, culture based on the horse and the wain wagon, thus they are considered wain Easterlings. Orcs of Dol Guldur, politics and power, politics in the north, politics in the south, the woodland realm, the Iron Hill dwarves. The dwarves of the tribe of Balystone have mined since Third Age 927, have mined portions of valleys which are the source of the Carnan. The river is so named for the reddish iron dust which colors its water. Bally's folk are part of the Eastern Dwarven group. Their leader is Fulla the Second, a 14th level demon slayer, led them to the Iron Hills after a great journey which took them over a century and carried them across the northern part of Endor. His son Fulla the Third presides over 700 hardy dwarves who now work the land. The main site is in capital. I'm not even going to pronounce that. Otherwise, Red Valley Mansion. This is by most knowledgeable folk in Rhovanion, houses 3/4 of the population. The rest live in Axe Mountain and lived by the young Asgal, great grandson of Fulla's brother. Northern politics, Gondorian presence, Easterling politics, various tribes, Necromancer, Shadow on Wilderland, Necromancer's nature, Nazgul, Necromancer's trolls, Necromancer's orcs, the cult of the Witch Kingdom, the cult of the Long Night, sites of men, Plains Homestead, Dale, Town of Dale, notable dalesmen, Lake Town, notable sites in Esgaroth, Woodman Town, nature of the site, Plan began as individual tree houses, much more from elaborate versions of the kind every child loves to build. Remember, nails are scarce among the woodmen. Occasionally, a woodman will trade in for a handful of nails from a dwarf, but few nails went into construction of woodman towns. Instead, they used the skills of whittling, joining, and dovetailing serve these woodmen very well. One reaches the height of the houses, 10 to 15 feet above the ground, by ladders or grass rope. Layout of woodman town, typical manners, the Holy Carrock. So we get into a lot of stuff, various towns and settlements and things like this. Elven sites, the Elven King's Halls. Yet another entry for them. Dwarven sites, Dwarves of the Iron Hills. Layout of their citadel there, the Lonely Mountain. A vague, rough draft of portions of the Lonely Mountain. I really regret that they never got a chance to come around and actually do a formal source book specifically for the Lonely Mountain. But, and well, for Dale combined, Rosgobble, Dol Guldur. I think if Iron Crown had continued holding the franchise at a given time, they would have come up with that sort of thing, because it just seemed like a major play site based off of the books and the novels. So this is why I'm surprised that they didn't come out with one sooner than they, in the development of the game system. But that's neither here nor there. So lots of information on Dol Guldur, Elven King's Kingdom again, Saren Gurwing, and other dark sites to be found. Basically, like I said, this is just recapping what went into the first two installments of Northern and Southern Mirkwood. So there you got it, Mirkwood, the wilds of Rhovanion.